In this next example, we're still using the idea of evaluating polynomials like we did in the previous example. Here we have an application problem. A rock is dropped from a 500-foot cliff. The rock's height above the ground in feet after x seconds is given by h equals 500 minus 16x squared. Fill in the following table, and then actually I took the question off from the bottom, so we're just going to fill in the following table here. Right. So we're given a time, the number of seconds the rock has fallen. Right? And when you're going to see these in your homework, what you're going to see is a story problem, and it's just going to give you a couple of values. So you don't have to create this entire table. You're just going to take what we're doing with these numbers and plug them in to do the evaluating. Right? So the number of seconds the rock has fallen, well, the rock has fallen 0 seconds. So we're going to plug 0 into our polynomial here. Right? So h is going to be 500 minus 16 times 0 squared. We're going to keep the 500 minus 16 times 0 is just 0. So we'll go ahead and write out these steps. That's going to give us 500. Right, now we're going to plug in 1. So 500 minus 16 times 1 squared. So we have 500 minus 16. 1 squared is 1. 500 minus 16 is going to give us 484. You might need some scratch paper handy as you're working through the couple of story problems at the end of the homework assignment. As you're doing these, again, as you're working through them, the arithmetic shouldn't be too bad, but you might want some scratch paper handy to either do the multiplication and or subtraction. All right, now we're going to plug in 2. 16 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 16 times 4 gives us 64. So 500 minus 64 gives us 436. And technically these should all be in feet, right? Because we are thinking a distance. Right, now we're going to plug in 3. Right, 3 squared is 9. 16 times 9 is 144. 500 minus 144 gives us 356 feet. All right, now we're going to plug in 4. So we have 16 times 16. 16 times 16 is 256. 500 minus 256 is 244 feet. Right, and last but not least, we're going to plug in 5. 5 squared is 25. 16 times 25 is 400. And we're left with an answer of 100 feet. Right. So thinking about this, what this table tells us is that after 0 seconds, the height of the rock is 500 feet. Right? So the rock's height is 500 feet. Right? After 1 second, the rock's height is 484 feet. After 2 seconds, the rock's height is 436 feet. After 3 seconds, the rock's height is 356 feet. After 4 seconds, 244 feet. And 5 seconds, 100 feet. Right, so looking at this, after the rock is dropped, notice that the height is decreasing. Right, it's decreasing because the rock is falling towards the ground. So the more time has passed, the closer the rock is to the ground, the lower number that we're going to see then for that height.